I want to talk about lawyers, sometimes called consumer lawyers, who try to help homeowners. Virtually all of the well-known ones, and particularly the ones who have been successful, have been prosecuted criminally and disbarred by state bars, by corrupt state bars, by the state governments and the federal governments. This, of course, includes myself. They disbarred me. They put me in jail. They put me in prison. They put me in mental institutions and took more than 10 years of my life. They broke my collarbone. They tried to kill me. And they've done this to virtually every well-known lawyer, including lawyers like Neil Garfield, Gary Dubin, Mark Stoppa. Mark wrote a book about it. Gary Dubin has a petition before the United States Supreme Court concerning his disbarment. Between about 2009 and 2012, the state bar took in roughly 12,000 complaints against lawyers for providing worthless foreclosure defense services. And they disbarred close to 300 lawyers. The main attorney that did this was Kamala Harris, who was then the state attorney general for California. And she also took actions against real estate professionals, who were trying to help homeowners, especially the ones who were seeking loan modifications. Now, the government publicly announced that it favors loan modifications to help keep homeowners in their homes, and this was a complete lie. They even passed a law, I think the first one was Kamala Harris, in California, that anyone trying to help somebody getting a loan modification could not charge an upfront fee. Now, how much sense does that make? If you want to encourage the banks to do loan modifications, why would you make it a crime to charge somebody an upfront fee in order to try to help them get a loan modification? So what happened is many people gave lawyers and many real estate professionals upfront money to do a loan modification. And it's been well established that banks almost never do loan modifications because they make a lot more money foreclosing. So what happened is these people, who usually were in some financial distress, because if they weren't, they probably wouldn't have stopped making their mortgage payments, gave these lawyers and real estate professionals some of their last bit of money. And when they didn't get a loan modification, especially if they got evicted, which happened often, they of course blamed the messenger. They blamed the lawyers and the real estate professionals who had tried to get them loan modifications. But instead of the government telling the truth, including Kamala Harris, that it was the bank's fault they didn't get loan modifications, they jumped on the bandwagon and blamed the lawyers and real estate professionals. And as I've mentioned, many of them got disbarred, many of them got criminally prosecuted, many real estate people lost their licenses, and so forth. So these lawyers, of course, no longer can help homeowners, which is the whole point. Neil Garfield, who many of you may know, a well-renowned expert, recently did a video saying it's almost impossible to find a lawyer to represent homeowners. And I would guess he's right. And one thing I've been suggesting to lawyers is this. Members of private member associations can provide each other with legal services without being licensed to practice law. There are over 70 cases that went before the United States Supreme Court saying that. So I think it's a good idea for lawyers and others to become members of private member associations like Americans Against Foreclosure, because it can provide them some protection. In fact, the Illinois State Bar went after Frank Waldo of Fraud Stoppers for practicing law without a license. Frank, who is very smart and knowledgeable, wrote them a letter back citing some of the Supreme Court cases, and he never heard from them again. There is a private membership association, which is the biggest one in the country, and I've talked to some of their leaders, and they say they have rarely lost a case, and usually all they have to do is write a letter to a state agency or a federal agency, and they back off. Because again, the law is clear that if you're a member of a private membership association and you give another private member legal advice, you're not subject to regulation by state bars or any other state or federal agency. And what I'm hoping is that the thousands of lawyers who've been disbarred or put in jail like me might be able to use this as a way to help homeowners and will be immune from state bars and state attorney generals going after them for practicing law without a license. So that's something I'm suggesting to anybody who wants to help homeowners. Join a private member association. There are many. And only help people that are also members of private member associations. And maybe that will help alleviate. There will never be enough lawyers and people to help homeowners. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they're saying many millions and millions of people are probably going to end up being the subjects of illegal evictions, especially once the moratoriums are lifted. And there are not enough lawyers, judges, and other experts in the United States to help millions of people. But that's okay. As Ed Vallejo is very fond of saying, we can only take things one at a time, and every time we help even one homeowner, that's a tremendous success. And I agree. So that's what Ed and I are forced to do, go one at a time and help as many people as we can. Of course, we can't help millions. That's a tiny fraction of the people that need help. But we can certainly use all the help we can get. And we welcome any lawyer, disbarred or not, to participate. So I think that's the end of this video. Thank you for listening.